Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're talking about skills in Claude Code, one of the most powerful and flexible extension points in the entire system. Anthropic has been using skills extensively in their own internal development, with hundreds of them in active use. In this video, they share the lessons they've learned about building great skills and what separates the ones that work from the ones that fall flat. A common misconception about skills is that they are just markdown files, basically a prompt stuffed into a text document. But the most interesting part of skills is exactly what makes them different from that. Skills are folders, and a skill folder can include scripts, assets, data files, reference code, templates, anything the agent can discover, explore, and manipulate. In Claude Code, skills also come with a wide variety of configuration options, including the ability to register dynamic hooks that fire at specific moments in your workflow. The teams at Anthropic that get the most out of skills are the ones that treat the file system as a core part of the skill, not just the markdown file. After cataloging all the skills in use at Anthropic, a clear pattern emerged. They cluster into 9 recurring categories. The best skills fit cleanly into just one of these categories. The more confusing ones try to do too many things at once. Knowing these categories up front can also help you spot gaps in your own team's toolkit. The first 3 types are about knowledge and testing. Library and API reference skills explain how to correctly use a library, a CLI, or an SDK, typically with code snippets and a list of gotchas to avoid. Product verification skills describe how to test that your code is working, often paired with tools like Playwright or TMUX. Anthropic recommends investing heavily in these. A week of an engineer's time making verification skills excellent can pay huge dividends. Data fetching and analysis skills connect to your monitoring and data stacks, complete with credentials, dashboard IDs, and workflows for the most common queries. The next 3 types focus on automation and code quality. Business process and team automation skills turn repetitive workflows into a single command. Things like stand-up posts that aggregate your ticket tracker, GitHub activity, and Slack history. Or ticket creation that enforces required fields and pings the right reviewer. For these skills, storing results in log files helps the model stay consistent across runs and build on what it did before. Code scaffolding and templates generate boilerplate specific to your codebase, especially valuable when your scaffolding has natural language requirements that pure code cannot capture. Code quality and review skills enforce your organization's standards and help review code, and they can run automatically as hooks or inside a GitHub action. One effective pattern is the adversarial review, where a fresh sub-agent critiques the output, fixes get applied, and the cycle repeats until findings degrade to nitpicks. The final 3 types are about operations. CI/CD and deployment skills help you push, fetch, and deploy code safely. A babysit PR skill, for example, can monitor a pull request, retry flaky CI, resolve merge conflicts, and enable auto-merge without any human involvement. Runbooks take a symptom, a Slack alert, an error signature, a request ID, walk through a multi-tool investigation across your systems, and produce a structured report. These are especially valuable for on-call workflows, where speed and consistency matter. And infrastructure operations skills handle routine maintenance and potentially destructive procedures. The key design pattern here is guardrails. Post proposed changes somewhere visible like Slack, wait for a soak period, and require explicit user confirmation before executing anything destructive. Now let's talk about how to actually write a great skill. The most important thing to understand is that Claude Code already knows a lot about your codebase and about coding in general. A good skill pushes Claude out of its normal way of thinking. It does not just repeat what Claude already knows. The first tip is about focus. Don't state the obvious. The second tip is to build a gotcha section. This is consistently the highest signal content in any skill. Collect failure points as you go and keep updating the section as Claude hits new edge cases. Third, use the file system and progressive disclosure. Tell Claude what files exist in the skill, and it will read them at the right moment. This lets you build deep reference material, function signatures, example scripts, templates, without dumping everything into the main markdown file. Tip 4 is to avoid railroading Claude. Because skills are reusable across many different situations, being too prescriptive can backfire. Give Claude the information it needs, but also the flexibility to adapt. Tip 5 is to think through setup. Some skills need context from the user before they can run, like which Slack channel to post to. Store that information in a config.json file in the skill directory. If the config does not exist yet, the skill can prompt the user using the Ask User Question tool. Tip 6 is about the description field. When Claude Code starts a session, it scans every available skills description to decide which ones are relevant to the current request. That means the description field is not a human-readable summary. It's a trigger condition for the model. Write it accordingly. The last 3 tips are about making skills smarter over time. First, memory. Skills can store data by writing to log files, JSON files, or even a SQLite database within the skill directory. A stand-up post skill that keeps a full history of every stand-up it has written can compare what changed since yesterday and produce a much more meaningful update. Second, give Claude Code to work with. Scripts and helper libraries let Claude spend its reasoning on composition, deciding what to do next, instead of reconstructing boilerplate from scratch. A data science skill with a library of fetch functions for your event source dramatically expands what Claude can do on the fly. Third, on-demand hooks. Skills can register hooks that only activate when the skill is called and last for the duration of the session. A careful skill might block destructive commands like force pushes or drop table. These are behaviors you want sometimes, not all the time. Once you have built a great skill, you will want to share it with the rest of your team. There are 2 main approaches. For smaller teams working across a few repos, checking your skills into the repository under .claude/skills works well. But as you scale, a plugin marketplace becomes much more valuable. A marketplace lets team members choose which skills to install, so each person only adds the context they actually need. When managing a marketplace, Anthropic does not use a centralized approval committee. Instead, they let skills gain traction organically. Share a skill in a sandbox folder, point people to it in Slack, and once it has proven useful, the owner submits a pull request to move it into the marketplace. One important warning: it is very easy to create bad or redundant skills. Some form of curation before release is important to keep the marketplace useful. 2 more things worth knowing. Skills can depend on other skills. Dependency management is not natively built in, but you can simply reference other skills by name in your instructions, and Claude will invoke them if they are installed. And to understand how a skill is actually being used, Anthropic uses a pre-tool use hook to log skill usage across the company. This makes it possible to spot which skills are popular and which ones are being under-triggered compared to expectations. Useful information for deciding where to invest next. That's it for today. See you in the next one.